Firstly, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land and pay my respects to their elders past and present. I would also like to acknowledge my colleagues in the room, too many to mention, but particularly Deputy Prime Minister Barnaby Joyce, Maurice Payne, Finance Minister Simon Birmingham, who's been a great partner in this year's budget, to the Assistant Treasurer Michael Suka, and to the Assistant Minister for Superannuation and Financial Services and Financial Technology, Jane Hume. Can I also acknowledge the Secretary of the Department of Treasury, Stephen Kennedy, and Rosemary Huxtable, two of the finest public servants of their generation who have been outstanding in their roles through the most difficult of times, so thank you very much. Also here today is my very good friend Greg Hunt, who is departing politics but who can hold his head very high after an incredible job as Health Minister. He has with him today a very special guest, a lady called Julie Sinney, who is the founder and the CEO of Spinal Muscular Atrophy Australia. Julie tragically lost both her children to spinal muscular atrophy and has led the charge to list Zolgensma on the PBS, a life-saving and a life-changing drug, gene therapy to treat infants under the age of 9 months. Last night, we listed this drug on the PBS at a record $2.5 million for a one-off treatment. This is the most expensive drug Australia has ever listed on the PBS. It will save 30 children a year, and listing drugs like Zolgensma and last night Trodelvy to treat breast cancer patients is only possible because of a strong economy. And I would like to join you in acknowledging Julie and thanking her for her amazing advocacy to have this drug. Ladies and gentlemen, we live in extraordinary times. A global pandemic has taken more than 6 million lives. All too frequent natural disasters are devastating local communities. And war in Ukraine has shattered peace in Europe and precipitated a global inflation spike. But despite all the challenges we face, Australia remains resilient and Australians remain strong. In just a few weeks' time, our nation goes to the polls. Voters will face a clear choice: a Liberal national coalition led by Scott Morrison that has delivered a world-leading economic recovery and now has outlined its long-term plan to create more jobs. And a Labor Party led by Anthony Albanese that has largely hidden from view for the last 3 years, trying to sneak into government with little more than a false and fanciful promise that he would govern like Bob Hawke and John Howard. The opposite would be true. The most left-wing Labor leader since Gough Whitlam, who has spent his entire political career championing higher taxes and higher spending. It's a history the Leader of the Opposition wants to conveniently forget.